The day the oceans vanished. It was a day no human would ever forget. The day Earth's oceans vanished. All over the planet, people watched in horror as the waters receded, pulled skyward in glistening columns, as if some great force was siphoning the life out of their world. The chaos began in the early morning when strange gravitational anomalies were detected by scientists. But before they could issue any warnings, it was too late. Sergeant Eric Evans, stationed aboard the Earth Defense Command's orbital platform, watched helplessly as the blue expanse below turned into cracked, barren land. The instruments on the station registered the plummeting water levels with alarming speed, oceans disappearing within hours. The reptilian alien invaders, known as the Rions, had unleashed a terrifying new weapon, draining Earth's water with advanced siphons and tractor beams. The Earth Defense Command, EDC, scrambled to respond, but they were powerless against the sheer scale of the attack. Cities that once thrived on the coasts were now desolate wastelands, and billions of lives were lost in the ensuing chaos. Global agriculture collapsed overnight, and with it, the very fabric of civilization. Within days, Earth was in the grip of famine, disease, and unrest. From his vantage point in orbit, Evans could do nothing but listen as the final agonized transmissions from Earth's surface poured in. His own family, his wife and daughter, were among the countless dead, victims of the riots that had erupted in the streets as people fought over the dwindling resources. Grief and rage consumed him, driving him to the edge of despair. But amidst the devastation, a resolve began to form within him. The Rions had underestimated humanity. Earth might be broken, but its people were far from defeated. In the Mars colony, the last remnants of Earth's militaries and governments were rallying, preparing for the greatest counteroffensive in human history. Dr. Samir Patel, a brilliant xenotechnologist, had been working tirelessly on reverse engineering the Rions' technology from the wreckage of one of their destroyed ships. What he discovered would turn the tide of the conflict, a way to harness the Rions' own hyperdrive and terraforming technology to create something far more powerful. The project, code-named Retribution, was humanity's last hope. A fleet of warships was being constructed in secret, each one equipped with weapons capable of annihilating entire planets. These ships would bear the banner of the Human Reprisal Force, and their mission was clear: track down the Rions, reclaim Earth's stolen water, and burn their worlds to cinders. Evans was chosen to command the flagship of this fleet, a colossal destroyer named Retribution. His orders were explicit: no mercy. The Rions would pay dearly for what they had done. As the final preparations were made, the Rion ambassador made a desperate attempt at diplomacy, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. Humanity's blood called for vengeance, and there would be no stopping it. As the Retribution prepared to launch, Evans stood on the bridge, his hands gripping the rail as he stared out at the stars. The weight of 1 billion lost lives pressed down on his shoulders, and he knew that the coming battle would decide the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The Rions had taken everything from him, and now he would lead the charge to take everything from them. The countdown began, and the fleet surged forward, leaving the red dust of Mars behind as they plunged into the depths of space. Ahead lay the Rion homeworld, and with it, the final reckoning. Humanity's wrath. Unleashed, the Human Reprisal Force, HRF, streaked through space, an armada bristling with weapons of mass destruction. At the head of the fleet, Captain Eric Evans stood on the bridge of the Retribution, his expression as hard as the steel of the ship itself. His crew moved with precision, every station manned by the best humanity had to offer. They all knew the stakes. This was no ordinary mission. It was a crusade for survival, and failure was not an option. As they neared Rion space, the mood aboard the ship shifted from grim determination to a cold, focused fury. The Rions had to pay, and the price would be their very existence. The first sign of their approach was the appearance of Rion patrol ships on the long-range scanners. Evans ordered the fleet to maintain course, refusing to break formation for the minor threats. These skirmishes were just the beginning, a prelude to the storm that was coming. Dr. Samir Patel monitored the readings from the Retribution's newly installed systems, ensuring that the reverse-engineered hyperdrive and terraforming technology were functioning correctly. The ship was equipped not only to destroy, but also to rebuild, a testament to humanity's dual nature of creation and destruction. Patel had his doubts about the morality of what they were about to do. But like everyone else on board, he had lost too much to turn back now. The Rions made their first serious attempt to stop the human fleet at the edge of their star system. A massive flotilla of warships, bristling with energy weapons and shielded by advanced force fields, materialized out of warp space to intercept them. The Rions had come prepared, knowing that humanity's wrath would be swift and brutal. Evans watched as the enemy ships arranged themselves into a formidable wall, their sleek predatory designs a sharp contrast to the more utilitarian human vessels. He activated the fleet-wide comms, his voice cold and devoid of any emotion. All ships, prepare for engagement. Remember why we're here. Remember what they did. We will show no mercy. The first volleys were exchanged with terrifying efficiency. The Retribution's plasma cannons roared to life, sending lances of superheated energy slicing through the void. Rion's ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, their advanced shields no match for the sheer firepower of the human fleet. But the Rions fought back with equal ferocity, their weapons tearing through the shields of the smaller human vessels. On the bridge of the Retribution, Evans barked orders, directing the fleet's movements with the precision of a seasoned warrior. The human ships moved in a tight formation, their coordinated fire creating a devastating wave of destruction. Yet for every Rion ship they destroyed, another seemed to take its place. The battle raged on, the blackness of space lit up by the relentless exchange of firepower. The Rion flagship, a monstrous vessel known as the Oblivion, loomed in the distance, its weapons trained on the Retribution. Evans knew that the outcome of this battle would hinge on taking out the Oblivion. He ordered all available firepower to be focused on the Rion behemoth, intent on ending the fight quickly. As the human fleet closed in, the Oblivion unleashed a devastating barrage of energy beams that tore through the ranks of the HRF, obliterating several ships in one blow. The Retribution shuddered under the impact, alarms blaring as damage reports flooded in. "Shields down to 40%, Patel reported, his voice strained as he fought to keep the systems stable. "We can't take much more of this." Evans didn't hesitate. "Divert all power to the forward shields. Bring us in closer." The Retribution surged forward, its weapons blazing as it charged toward the Oblivion. The two ships traded blow for blow, each one taking heavy damage but refusing to back down. The air on the bridge was thick with tension as the crew fought to keep the ship intact. Finally, as the Retribution closed the distance, Evans gave the order to deploy the terraforming weapon. A massive pulse of energy erupted from the Retribution, aimed directly at the Oblivion. The pulse was designed to destabilize the very matter of the target, and as it struck the Rion flagship, the results were catastrophic. The Oblivion began to disintegrate from within, its hull warping and collapsing as the energy tore it apart on a molecular level. Within moments, the once mighty Rion flagship was nothing more than a cloud of debris, scattered across the battlefield. A stunned silence fell over the bridge as the crew watched the destruction unfold. The remaining Rion ships hesitated, their morale shattered by the loss of their flagship. Evans seized the opportunity, ordering the fleet to press the attack. The human ships surged forward, overwhelming the now disorganized Rion forces with brutal efficiency. As the last of the Rion ships were destroyed, a cold satisfaction settled over Evans. The battle was won, but this was only the beginning. Ahead lay the Rion homeworld, where the final reckoning would take place. The Rions had unleashed a nightmare upon Earth, and now they would face humanity's retribution in full force. "Set course for the Rion homeworld," Evans ordered, his voice as hard as steel. "Let's finish this." The fleet reformed and the human reprisal force moved forward, leaving the wreckage of the battle behind. The stars ahead shimmered with the promise of vengeance, and Evans knew that soon the Rions would learn the true cost of their actions. The siege of Rhea Prime. The human reprisal force streaked through the cold void of space, their destination clear. Rhea Prime, the heart of the Rhean civilization. Captain Eric Evans stood on the bridge of the Retribution, his eyes fixed on the distant star that marked their target. The destruction of the Rhean fleet had given humanity the upper hand, but Evans knew that this final battle would be the most difficult yet. The Rheans would fight to the last breath to protect their homeworld. As the fleet approached the edge of the Rhea Prime system, Evans ordered the ships to drop out of warp. The transition was smooth, the human ships emerging into real space with deadly precision. Before them lay the Rhean home system, its planets and moons arranged in a pattern that spoke of ancient order and advanced technology. At the center of it all was Rhea Prime, a jewel of a planet with sapphire seas and emerald continents, a world that mirrored the lost beauty of Earth. But there would be no admiration for the Rhean world today. The fleet's scanners lit up with contacts, dozens of Rhean warships, orbital defense platforms, and surface-based anti-spacecraft weapons. The Rheans had fortified their homeworld to the teeth, prepared to meet humanity's wrath with everything they had. Evans activated the fleet-wide comms, his voice calm and steady despite the enormity of what lay ahead. "All ships, this is it. The Rheans have taken everything from us, our water, our cities, our loved ones. Today we take it all back. Engage at will and show them no mercy." The human fleet surged forward, weapons hot and shields at full power. The first salvos erupted in a blaze of light as plasma beams, missiles, and railguns tore through the vacuum of space. The Rheans responded in kind, their defenses lighting up the darkness with a deadly barrage. The void between the two forces became a killing field, filled with the wreckage of destroyed ships and the bright flashes of exploding munitions. The Retribution led the charge, its powerful weapon system tearing through the Rhean defenses with ruthless efficiency. On the bridge, Evans directed the battle with the cold precision of a surgeon, his mind focused entirely on the task at hand. Dr. Samir Patel monitored the ship's systems, ensuring that the critical technologies they had reverse-engineered from the Rheans held up under the strain. "Captain, we've got incoming from the surface," Patel warned, as new contacts appeared on the sensors. "They're deploying planetary defense weapons. Heavy plasma cannons, mass drivers, you name it. Evasive maneuvers," Evans ordered. "All ships, focus fire on those surface batteries. We need to clear a path." The human fleet adjusted its formation, with smaller, more maneuverable ships darting ahead to draw fire, while the larger vessels brought their guns to bear on the surface targets. The Rhean defenses were formidable, but they were no match for the sheer determination and firepower of the human reprisal force. As the battle raged in orbit, a second wave of human forces prepared for the ground assault. The Retribution's troop bays were filled with soldiers, engineers, and support personnel, all ready to bring the fight to the Rhean cities. Captain Evans had made it clear this was not just a space battle. Humanity intended to land on Rhea Prime and reclaim what had been stolen from them. "Troop transports, prepare for launch," Evans commanded. "We're taking this fight to the surface." The massive hangar bays of the Retribution opened, releasing wave after wave of troop transports, armored vehicles, and aerial support craft. The transports formed up and began their descent through the atmosphere, their engines roaring as they cut through the thick clouds. Below them, the surface of Rhea Prime came into view. Vast cities sprawled across the land, connected by intricate networks of roads and maglev trains. But these were no peaceful metropolises. Anti-aircraft fire lit up the skies, and Rhean ground forces moved to intercept the human invaders. Sergeant Marcus Iron Flint led the first wave of ground troops, his eyes narrowed as he scanned the readouts on his heads-up display. A veteran of countless battles, Flint was the epitome of human resilience, a soldier who had seen it all and lived to tell the tale. As his transport neared the drop zone, he activated the comms to his squad. "Listen up, people. This is it, Ground Zero. We're here to make sure the Rheans never forget what happens when you mess with humanity. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and don't stop until we've taken this city." The troop transports touched down amid the ruins of a once thriving Rhean city, now reduced to rubble by the orbital bombardment. Flint's squad moved out with practiced efficiency, their armored boots crunching on the shattered remains of alien architecture. They encountered resistance almost immediately. Rion soldiers, armed with advanced energy weapons, emerged from the debris to engage the human invaders. The firefight was intense, the air filled with the crackle of energy weapons and the roar of human firearms. The Rions fought with desperation, knowing that this was their last stand, but the human troops pressed forward with relentless determination. Flint's squad moved through the city like a well-oiled machine, taking out enemy positions one by one and securing key locations for the rest of the invasion force. Above, in the orbit of Rhea Prime, the battle continued to rage. The Retribution took hit after hit, but its shields held, and its weapons continued to fire with deadly precision. Evans monitored the progress of the ground assault, his heart pounding as he watched the live feeds from the surface. He knew that every victory on the ground brought them one step closer to their ultimate goal, reclaiming Earth's stolen water and ensuring that the Rions could never threaten humanity again. The Rion defense lines began to crumble under the combined assault from orbit and the ground. One by one, the planetary defense cannons fell silent, their operators either killed or fleeing in terror. The human fleet moved closer, bombarding the surface with pinpoint strikes to support the advancing ground forces. As the sun began to set on Rhea Prime, casting long shadows across the devastated landscape, the outcome of the battle became clear. The Rions were losing. Their once mighty defenses lay in ruins, their cities shattered and their armies broken. The human forces pushed ever deeper into the heart of the planet, their resolve unwavering. Captain Evans stood on the bridge of the Retribution, his expression unreadable as he watched the final stages of the battle. He had led his people to the brink of victory, but he knew that the hardest part was yet to come. The Rions had stolen Earth's lifeblood, and now it was time to take it back. But at what cost? "Send word to all forces," Evans ordered, his voice low but firm. "Prepare for the final assault. We're taking back what's ours." The fleet repositioned, readying itself for the last push. The final objective was clear: the Rion water extraction facility, where Earth's stolen oceans were being held. Evans knew that this would be the most heavily defended target, but there was no turning back now. As the human forces moved into position, the atmosphere aboard the Retribution was electric with anticipation. Every soldier, every pilot, every engineer knew that they were on the verge of history. The battle for Rhea Prime was almost over, but the war for Earth's survival had only just begun. The heart of the conflict, the final assault on the Rion water extraction facility, was about to commence. Captain Evans surveyed the tactical map displayed before him on the bridge of the Retribution. The facility was heavily fortified, surrounded by defensive turrets, anti-aircraft batteries, and a formidable force of Rion soldiers. The stakes were clear. This was the last stronghold, the heart of Rion operations on their home planet, and the key to reclaiming Earth's stolen water. "Sergeant Flint," Evans called through the comms, his voice steady despite the tension that gripped him. "Your team will lead the ground assault. We'll provide cover fire from orbit, but once you're inside, it's up to you to take down those defenses and secure the facility." "Understood, Captain," Flint replied, his tone resolute. "We'll get it done." The Retribution's weapons powered up, targeting the facility's outer defenses. In the distance, the human ground forces assembled, preparing for the most challenging battle they had faced yet. Flint's squad was at the forefront, a mix of seasoned veterans and fresh recruits, all driven by the shared goal of bringing Earth's water back home. "Ground forces, move out," Flint commanded, and the human troops surged forward. As the ground forces advanced, the Retribution unleashed a withering barrage of firepower, blasting through the facility's outer defenses. Explosions rocked the area as turrets and bunkers were obliterated, clearing a path for Flint and his squad to breach the perimeter.